Okay, yeah,
Mr.
I will
Chairman,
do that in a moment. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to make the YouTube link available. So the YouTube link is available now. Yeah, so.
Yes, please. We're so sorry. Right now, we're not being the official church link. It will naturally take a lot of people. We didn't know it was okay.
The YouTube link available. So the YouTube link available.
Kindly make some of the leaders hosts so that we can help with the administration.
Right now, we're not being the official church link. It will naturally take a lot of people. We didn't know it was okay.
The YouTube link available. So the YouTube link available.
Where can we get the YouTube link
Oh, yeah,
available?
don't give post so that we can help with the administration.
Right now, we're not being the official church link. It will naturally take a lot of people. Welcome back, sir. So sorry for the interruption. Is Mr. and Mrs. Soetan there?
Do we have Mr. and Mrs. Soetan back?
Yes, sir.
Who is there? Okay, they are here. They are here. They are here. Welcome back. Sorry for the inconvenience. Mr. and Mrs. Soetan.
Are they here? Are they back?
Yeah, they are back. So I guess the second, they are back. Can see them.
They're here.
They are here.
Oh, shit.
Thank you for joining us. We're so sorry for the inconvenience.
Thanks for joining us. Sorry for the technical hitch,
Okay.
Thank you very much. So welcome back to everyone. So thank you very much. So the question again, we know the Bible firmly says a big no to sex before marriage. Please, can you share some of the practical ways of obeying this godly instruction in a relationship? Where should the lines be drawn?
Okay, all right. The thing about sex is the fact that it requires a lot of discipline and self-control, and it's the same thing that is going to be demanded of you when you get into a marriage. So it's not just about because we're single only. And if you ask married people, and they can tell you that sex and marriage has not always been like what many people perceive it's going to be. They're going to be so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So so there's possibility that you have days, weeks, and probably even in some cases months that you may go without having sex. So what do you do at that instance? Now, for us, I can say that I think I met my wife in 2012 and we got married in 2013. There's what Yoruba calls suru to lojo. So, you know, when you're looking forward to, getting married very soon, you guys are talking, you have plans. It is easier for you to, subject yourself to, control and say, okay, I know that there's a day I'm looking forward to. So I think one of the easiest ways is for you to, make a decision. So it's not a situation whereby you are not sure of, so you know how what your waiting period is going to be like, because there will definitely be that sexual tension between both of you, because you guys are always communicating love and you've been doing that emotionally. So you would definitely want to get physically involved, okay, with each other. And it might be a very big struggle. But however, I believe that it can be more controlled. It can be more controlled, and both of it can be quite reasonable when you know that, okay, you are looking forward to, a particular day or a particular season of your life when you can then gain full expression. However, in the meantime, what can you do is just embracing each other, encouraging each other, believing in each other, and trusting God all along the process. So I'm not saying that, this is going to be a fair journey, because as was just, I met her in 2012, got married in 2013, but we didn't have sex before marriage, but it was something that, I believe that probably because, we worked things together, it was quite easy for me to, probably maybe that's why I was in a hurry.
And it's not like we didn't struggle or anything, even though we didn't have sex, but we knew what we wanted to do. And I feel like we need to just be honest with ourselves, right? What I find happening is that maybe in some ways, most times people's values are not aligned. So somebody wants it and another person wants it. And that's where I think maybe the challenge might be coming from. So you have somebody always asking you, always tempting you, always telling you that you must not love them enough for you not to be giving in. Do you see? So you want to first of all make sure, first things first, let's know where we are going. Let's be clear about what we are doing so that we're on the same page. That way, for us, we were on the same page. When it happened, we both sat down together and said, this cannot happen again. Like, we cannot be kissing like this. Do you see what I'm saying? It's dangerous. We both agree. Not that I'll be saying we can't be kissing like this, and another person will be saying, what's the big deal? It's not just kissing. That's where the problem is. Do you see? So align. Make sure you're with somebody that aligns with you on that level. And make sure you put things in place. In our case, we were always around people, to be honest.
Yeah.
Always around people. He always comes to my house mostly. My siblings are always around. All we do is talk, argue,
we talk,
dance,
play.
And I think I thank God that I had that family environment where I wasn't living alone. People were around, my siblings were there and all of that. So it helped us. So being around people can be a good check. When you visit each other, make sure there are other people there. Visit open places. Don't stay in the room, because it's passion. It's not just that you want to disobey God. It's that your hormones are raging. It's that there is something called the flesh. Is there something called sexual tension? Do you see? That is in your body. And that tension is highlighted because you cannot have it. So we also have to know that because you cannot, you can't have sex, the tension will be higher. I was just speaking to a couple recently, they just got married. And so they're just completing their premarital sessions with me. And she was like, but when I was dating this guy, I thought that I would be mad in love with the sex. Like once our body touches like this, we are just having sex. But that's not what's happening in marriage. But guess what? When they were dating, just all her body will be shaking. Do you understand? She will be feeling the tension as if they should just grab each other. So you have to know that the fact that stolen water is sweet, always sweet, than the one that you accept on the platter. So because you cannot have the sex, there's something to look forward to. So every time you meet, it feels like this is the day that we are looking forward to. So you have to make sure that you steep that day in righteousness. You make sure that you protect the day. Do you see? You grab the day by the horns and make sure that you are actually in control and not leaving things to chances. But it helps if you both are on the same page and want the same things and believe in the same things. So practically, believe in the same things, have the conversation, make sure you both know. Now, whether you will err or not, at least when it happens, you can both support each other. Not that one person is trying, the other person is pulling them down. Make sure you meet in open places. Make sure that people are around you. Try not to be alone all the time. Do you see? Try not to watch. It's not the time for you to be watching movies that are filled with sexual scenes. What do you expect to happen? If you are using style to watch movies and you are saying that we will control ourselves, we are just lying. So our temptations are very predictable based on what is acceptable to us. Also be truthful to yourself. What are the things that you find okay, that your body does not even shake? You are there. Some of us, we tempt the devil. We are dead devils. We tell ourselves nothing can happen, but you are lying. Do you see? And even though you don't know that you're lying to yourself, you're lying to yourself. If you observe the things that are acceptable to you, your temptations are predictable. If Jesus was not hungry, Satan would not say, turn this stone to bread. Do you see? So you to be honest with yourself and make sure you're checking your heart. Are you really, really encouraging righteousness to grow in your relationship? Are you encouraging holiness to grow in your relationship? What do you guys talk about? I mean, you join conversations in a way that you're just like, no big deal now. Kissing is not bad. No. You, first of all, the fact that you will do it does not mean you can't tell the truth. Tell the truth about it. If we kiss, it's like fire. Romance is like fire. Once it catches on to you, we won't be able to stop it. Be aware of the truth of the situation and talk about it for real. Then we can then support each other, with all these other steps. Do you see? But please don't lie to yourself. Do you see?
And there's a lot, because one thing about sex is discovering each other, because that's what sex does. It helps you to discover your partner. There's a lot you need to. You see, the waiting period for marriage, I mean, that's why I think people need to really, really subscribe to, pre-marital counseling. There's a lot to learn about your partner. There's a lot of discovery. There's a lot to work on. Do you understand? So, I mean, you can really, really be busy with other stuff. I mean, developing yourself, improving yourself. There's a lot of discovery you need to make even about yourself. Honestly. And a lot of work to be done. So I think it's just that we don't know. It's just that we don't know. That's why it's because we are idle. We don't really, have so much going on. That's why, those things can really, really, be prevalent at that point in time. Not like they won't come, but they can be prevalent. But when you get, expositions about who you are and things you need to work on, I mean, you're well distracted. Let me just put it that way.
Somebody said, watch Mongai film. Yes, watch Mongai film. Because we know that movies these days, they get us to be. We all know. Do you see? There's hardly a movie where there's no agenda about sex, and they're all lies. So also in real life, we're not really having sex where we're throwing things down. Table is falling, the ceiling is falling down. So again, these are some of the truths that you need to embrace, so that when you're watching that movie too, you know that it's some programming that is going on. Some of them are designed to program us for disappointment. Some of them are already designed to program us for frustration. When you also embrace this truth, you will watch those films with a hint of skepticism. Do you see? So by all means, watch movies, go to the cinema. Do you see? But if you go to the cinema and you watch a sexual film, the tension remains in your body. So please don't go home together. Do you see? Don't go home together and open your mouth and talk and say, you know what, babe? It's like, I want to grab you now. Do you see? I think talking about it also helps. I don't know. I'm thinking about this. As you're talking about it, you're saying we can't do it. Let's not do it. Before you finish talking about it, the tension will dissipate. Do you see? But if you keep it in, you are now pretending that it's not there, and you are on your way to the house that nobody is there. Of course, the tension will follow you home. So please, honesty is key. Communication, transparency, don't lie, because it is not abnormal to feel those things. It's not abnormal.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much. Is Mrs. Ho still here? Okay, so a few things I've picked from your answers. One, don't do open-ended relationships. Let's be friends and see how it goes. It leads nowhere. Second thing is that don't go out with someone who has a contrary belief. If you believe in no sex, don't go out with somebody who would always be pushing you for it. Thirdly, always be around good people, get people around you every time. Then get busy. Avoid romantic films, music, anything that would, stir you up. Then lastly, be open. Be open. So thank you very much. So while we wait for Mrs. O, let's take the next question. As a mature single who feels like time is running out, how should one handle waiting without anxiety? Also, how does one trust again after major disappointments in relationships?
Okay, so mature
Or let me
single.
go right again. Let me say it again. As a mature single who feels like time is running out, how does one handle waiting without anxiety? Also, how does one trust again after several major disappointments?
Okay, so waiting. So we're just talking about waiting and not being under pressure, dealing with anxiety while you're waiting. And the truth of the matter is that some people are not even above 30 and they're already anxious. I mean, people are already anxious from maybe 22 or 20 or something already, depending on how they've been programmed and or whatever it is that sometimes their own desire, can do that disservice to them. So basically, it's Mama, do you want to help with this? Because I'm just thinking of how to put it all together and make it so compact.
Yeah. There's something my husband says about maturity, which is that if we really define maturity truly,
yeah, for what it is,
then maturity would include your ability to manage your emotions. So let's separate being an aged single to a mature single. We use the word mature very loosely, in the sense that, mature single being somebody who's just over the age of maybe 30 or 35. Do you see? But let's be kind of like define maturity, which is being able to manage your emotions, also being able to critically look at situations. For instance, I find that somebody will be anxious if they have been breaking up with people. Let's think, for instance, now we just said that don't date somebody that's going nowhere with you. Don't date somebody that your value does not align with. Don't date somebody who doesn't believe in what you believe in. I find that people will break up with these people, setting themselves free, letting themselves go, but not counting it all joy. You break up with nonsense, but yet you are the one that something is wrong with. Like how? Do you see? And we have to come to a place where we as a people must genuinely begin to understand that maturity involves being able to trust God. Maturity involves knowing that nothing is wrong with you, and knowing that with time what you want will happen. And if you have been letting go of people who don't look like where you are going, then that should be something that you should be happy about. Because the people that have gone ahead to marry people just for the sake of marriage, they have regretted it only days after the wedding. So that's being said. Now, managing the anxiety itself, because obviously we are all in this world together and it's possible. I'll say that it's about perspective, really. It's about perspective. Make sure that you are working to renew your mind. The only way that Bible recommends, the only thing that Bible recommends is, it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Constantly being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Sometimes you forget what the truth is, but remind yourself. Go into God's word and find. I always encourage people to don't wait to get a revelation of your marriage when you meet somebody you want to marry. Get it now, because it's going to be your marriage too. Do you see? When you know that God asks for you a promise, a beautiful marriage, where you have your husband, you have your children, it becomes something tangible that will happen. And that's the currency of the kingdom. That's the currency of our faith, where we receive it before we see it. Do you see? We see it first before we lay hold of it physically like this. Do you see? And that is what Jesus said. If you believe, you will have what you ask for. Do you see? So it is important that you condition yourself. You allow yourself to know that, like I always say, it's not just that you are not married. It's that a greater tragedy is happening, that you are losing your faith. You are losing your joy, which are things you will need in marriage. So Satan is stealing this from you and lying to you that it's because you are not married. Do you see? So I would say that the way to handle it is to make sure Do you see that you renew your mind constantly? Because your mind is the battlefield. And if Satan is going to attack you, he's going to attack you in your mind. The day you go for a wedding, this weekend has been a lot of weddings on social media. You see it, and then you're thinking about yourself, when is it going to be my turn? Do you see? I always encourage people, instead of saying, God, when? Take that moment and transform it into a God dance. Begin to imagine yourself married. Begin to imagine yourself not just married, beautifully married. Begin to lay hold of it in that moment and say, yes, this thing is happening for me as well. It has happened for me. Pray for the people that you're looking at. Steward your joy and don't compare yourself to somebody else's timing. Do you see? And these can keep you going. They can keep you going. And don't think you would have to do it only once. You would have to do it over and over and over and over again. I think a lot of times the illusion that it creates is that we think that, oh, if I believe God once, if I do it once, Satan will leave me alone. My mind will not attack me, or that I will no longer compare myself. No, it says renew your mind. Do you see? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing means that it's a present continuous thing. You have to continue to do it. You have to continue to renew your mind and put your mind on God. Believing first that it would also happen for you. And when you believe that something will happen for you, it's no longer something you're moaning about. It's no longer something that you feel like your waiting season is just waiting season. Your waiting season is also an active season of your life. Waiting is an action. Do you see? But many of us are not waiting based on God's instruction. We are not waiting based on conviction. We are not waiting because we know that it will happen. We are waiting, just waiting to be found. Just waiting, or maybe luck will shine on us. God will smile on us. And God, your Father, He's not trying to smile on you. He's not trying to wake up on you and say, it's your turn. No, God loves you. He's working over time to see that the best comes to you, to see that everything works out for your good. So you need to rest in God's love if you're going to be able to deal with anxiety. And so if you don't have it this way, where the mindset is fixed, the perspective is in the right place, then you have it the other way around, where you are waiting. Then you want to do what to wait. No. You are waiting. Waiting is a season where you are filled with God's love, where you are filled with assurance, where you are deeply convinced that this will happen for you. So if you're waiting now and you're not convinced, go to God and find out. Don't find out because the man has come. Who is the man? You are too late. Ask God, what is your vision for my marriage? Who is my husband? God can show you. You can be on your own like this and God can show you your husband. God can, not physically, He can show you a vision where you are seated with your husband, where you are talking with your children. He can show, and that is evidence that it will happen. Lay hold of that, even though there's nobody at the moment, and steward that conviction with joy and peace. And you'll be able to.
And there's one more thing I would like to, strongly recommend, and that's for many single people. They sometimes don't, they think that the only time that some single people will ever sit down with a relationship coach is probably when they're in a relationship or when they're about to get married. But that's not the only time I would recommend that you talk to a coach. You can just book a session with a coach, have a conversation with the coach. It helps. So that will work for the two categories of people that you mentioned: the mature single who is anxious and someone who is just broken up from a relationship. You need to talk to an expert, talk to someone, let them help you profile your relationship. What's been your relationship pattern? What's been going on in your life? What do you need to do to improve yourself? God is not against knowledge. God is not against you seeking, professional help or counsel. In the multitude of counsel, there's safety. So, in renewing your mind, in getting all this information that you need, sometimes, talking to a professional will be of great help. So it does no harm. There are people that I work with, that are not in a serious relationship yet, but they've, booked a session with me and we've talked. And from there, we've developed this relationship that, if they are going to something or they just, pop a message and say, coach, I'm about, they don't even need to book a session again, but they can just quickly, if they quickly need an advice, it's something I can quickly drop for them. So, you don't need to wait till probably you're in a relationship or anything. At any point in time, they're having troubles with the relationship, reach out to a relationship coach. All right. So we need to normalize that even in the kingdom. Okay, we need to normalize that the same way that, you don't see anything wrong with someone going for medical checkup. Like, okay, it's not because they are not healthy, it's not because they are not fine. You just want to have a checkup, just want to have a backup for their faith, for what they believe, for what they're doing. So I think it's a positive development if we begin to, think in that direction and say, yes, I'm going for, for some consultations about my relationship. I just need to consult about myself. I just need to reach out to a coach, and get some analysis of myself and my relationship and my situation and everything going forward for me. I think that helps as well.
Thank you very much. Mrs. O, are you there? Okay, so thank you very much. Quick takeaways from your answers. Maturity simply means that the person is old enough to manage his or her emotions. That should include anxiety. So secondly, the waiting time should be a time to get God's revelation from your marriage or for your marriage. The challenge is not losing your peace over your single status. Another point, don't compare yourself with others. Pray for those who are getting married. Waiting is an action word. You should not just sit and be waiting till when marriage will come. Be active about getting God's plan for your marriage. Then also, waiting is a time to immerse oneself in God's love. So thank you very much. So the next question, how do you develop a healthy relationship, or how do you develop a relationship with healthy boundaries around finances? That's both in relationship and in marriage. How do you set your boundaries when it comes to finances between a fiancé and fiancée, or between a husband and a wife? How do you develop relationship with healthy boundaries around finances?
Around finances, do we mean income and expenditure, like what's coming in and what's going out?
Just spending.
Or the spending, or who is
money?
Or
yeah,
money
I believe it's
policy.
more of gender, what each person should take. How do you, for instance, there are ladies who go all out and spend for the guy. That is, they are in love, they put all their money spending for the guy. There are guys who, once they start going out with the lady becomes their expenditure. They pay for everything. So how do you develop a healthy financial boundary in relationships and in marriage?
Okay, it's just the guy that's
I don't know if
yeah, I get like in marriage though, it's a bit complex because boundaries, the idea is that all things being equal, we will have kind of like the same money philosophy, the same money beliefs, where we know that it is us, it is we are working together as a team. That's for married people, all things being equal, ideally. Do you see? Now, for married people, it might be a bit complex to answer the question here because, well, different strokes, and people have like very varying circumstances as to why money may be a challenge in marriage, generally starting from their belief system. So I would encourage married people to seek out professionals if you find that there are some misalignment in money behavior, money personality, and all of that stuff. You may want to actually seek professional counseling so that you can, gently unravel that. But for single people, I also see that there is a money mindset that is more about losing. And while I will want to give boundaries in terms of spending for a partner in courtship, I would prefer that you allow yourself not to be sucked into the mentality of losing, because you don't lose. Ultimately, love gives. When you get married, you will still need to give. But what happens to us is that we meet a partner, we spend on them or we spend with them, and then it doesn't end up leading to marriage. Then we feel like we have lost something. You have not lost anything. You were you. You will still need that you when you get with the right partner. So what happens is that because we have this mentality of losing things, when we get with another partner, that partner now suffers for what happened in your previous relationship. So you find a couple is waiting, looking, oh, you know what, They're about to get, a couple that is about to get married, engaged. They're looking at each other like, okay, let me see how far you can do. When you can offer support, when you can offer help, we are now setting traps like, I don't want to do too much until I'm your husband, until I'm your wife. If I'm not your husband yet, I can't do so. So we are already creating an environment of strife, not of unconditional love, where we are truly allowing ourselves to step into the consciousness of our person in God. So I'm careful to say, oh, these are the boundaries with dating. All I'm really concerned is that you are sure of the person you're with. And one of the ways that you will know that this person doesn't really mean well for you is that it's not because you are giving to them. It's more because they're taking from you without giving to you, without gratefulness. They're trying to use, you will know. Do you see? So let's not kid ourselves that you will know. Somebody is taking for you, never ever giving anything to you, always coming up with excuses, always telling you that, oh, you know what, they are broke there. You will know. But don't assume, don't think that is you that have a problem because you were giving. No. Be more on the lookout for not being changed by somebody else's behavior, but also being realistic to yourself about what that behavior means to you. If you're a giver and you're with a person who makes excuses, that is a misaligned value. Do you understand? If you're a very hardworking go-getter and you're with somebody who is more laid back, it's not a problem. Being laid back is not a sin. Consider what it means to you. Do you see? So I feel like those are the things that we focus on, as opposed to, boundaries. What is the boundary? Like, you know, this person that you want to marry, you know, you love this person. What boundaries are you putting? Making sure that I don't want to give too much. No. That's not just God's will for our lives, because you are even supposed to be cultivating an abundance mindset. What you give does not deplete you. If anything, it adds to you. Do you understand? So if we have that mindset, we will not become broken and hurt and mishandled and just changed. People are losing themselves. People are getting in one relationship. Before they get into another, you leave a portion of you in that relationship, such that your next relationship suffers. And Satan now make that a foundation for ruining that next relationship. It's an unending crazy cycle. So begin to change your mindset. You don't lose, children of God. You gain. You gain freedom. You gain abundance. You gain value. You gain an identity, knowing who you are. Do you see? What is important is that also begin to notice the other person, so that you can genuinely ask yourself, okay, I've noticed this about the other person. What does it mean for me? Does it align with who I am, who I want to become, the kind of money philosophy I want to have in my marriage? If it doesn't, then take a walk. Do you see? Call up the relationship or sit down with them and have a conversation saying, oh, you know what? I love to give to you. Do you see? But I want to know, why is this like this? What are you doing? What are your goals? What is your money philosophy? Have a conversation about what their language is. Money personality also matters. Do you see? Somebody is a spender, somebody is a saver, all of those things. Those are things that I will encourage that you focus your attention on, understanding your different money personality and watching if it is acceptable to you and who you want to be and where you're going.
The thing for me is that, just to correct what my wife said, it's a question of who are you? That's just what it points at. It's a question of who are you? What kind of person are you? Are you a giver? Do you understand what it means to give? Do you understand what it means to be in a relationship? Do you understand what it means to love? Because those are the real questions, the real critical questions that shows how mature you are. So if you're no longer in a relationship with someone, do you want them to, bring a total of all that you spent during the relationship and refund it to you because you're no longer in a relationship with them? Is that what you want? Is that maturity? Would you accept that? If, okay, we've cut off a relationship, then I will now remember that, okay, you paid for my fares, 500 naira one day. One day you bought me a bottle of water, then let me just something together and return and refund. Will you collect that? What kind of person are you? So it's a question of who you are, your identity. Who are you? Now, whenever you're going into a relationship is a privilege, an opportunity for you to show who you are, for you to express yourself. That's what it is. So if someone is going to a relationship with you, you should be grateful and say, oh, you're coming to a relationship with me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, for me to show that I am capable of this, for me to show what I'm capable. That's what relationship is. So you don't go into a relationship with this mindset of, okay, now let's gamble. No, I drop 50, you drop 50. How is it going? What's going to happen? No, that's not what's happening. All right. Even when I understand that you are stingy to anything, you are stingy than anything, I will let you know that, yes, this is who you are, but this is not who I am. I am not a stingy person. I am a giver, and I will take care of you. And maybe probably from me, you'll be able to catch up that virtue. Even if we don't end up together, it's about who I am, not just who you are. So I'm not going to allow you determine or define who I'm going to be. This is who I am. So the question is, who are you? So because at the end of the day, when you want to talk about that relationship, then you want to talk about how that person is stingy, how this person is this. What did you do knowing that this person is this? There's so much that we need to understand. It is deeper than what we think it is. Relationship, commitment. We're talking about relationship, we're talking about commitment, we're talking about marriage. It is deeper than what it is. How much can you sacrifice? How much are you willing to give as a person? Are you ready to give 100 against a 0? These are questions you need to ask yourself before you go into a relationship. So you have to have made up your mind about all these things.
Man and woman, and it applies to both sexes.
It applies both ways. So I don't care if you're a stingy person, if you're a giver. I'm coming to express who I am. I'm coming to give just the same way. It is God that is training you. God is going to make you a better lover. It is God who is making you a better lover. It is not what your partner does that you're responding to. You're getting your instruction from the Holy Spirit. It's the one who is guiding you who to be, what to do. So you're not just going to limit everything to your own senses or your experience or background. That's not what you're going to limit it to. It is an expression of yourself, and you should be grateful to God that, God, thank you for giving me this relationship. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is a life. I'm going to love this life. I'm going to make impact in this life. That should be your focus. That should be your mindset.
Right. So I guess what we're saying in essence is that focus more on knowledge, knowing who you are and knowing the person. So if you're looking for boundaries, lean more towards learning their money language, their money philosophy. Sit down with them, ask them questions. Know what are the ways that they consider money. Do you see? Some people, for example, I sat with people who, there's one of the couple is saying that, oh, they're leaning to an abundance mindset. The second couple is like, abundance mindset, what's that? Does that mean that you want to be spending anyhow in the name of abundance mindset? Do you see? So and these people were like on their way to the altar. So you have to make sure that you are leaning more towards knowledge so that you know, even the Bible says, let your love abound in depth of insight. Let your love abound in knowledge. That's how you prove what is worthy. That's how you prove what is perfect. Do you see? Instead of like considering, oh, you know what, boundaries are for you. You don't set boundaries for other people. You set boundaries for yourself. You look at something and say, you know what, how can I do this so that I don't end up with what I don't want to end up with? The boundaries are for you to set. I don't want you to use my charger. I move it away. I don't say, oh, this is my charger here. Okay, don't use it. You should know not to use it now because boundaries that you are not doing. Keeping away. People are going to use your charger based on their own values. If somebody walks in here and say, charger is charger and anybody can use it, that's their value. If they had their charger, that's how they would do it. Do you see? But if I have my own charger, I want to be the only one using it. Do you see? So I am the one charged with the responsibility of putting my charger away, not leaving it down, making sure and saying that people should not use it. Do you see? They will use it based on their value. So make sure that you're leaning more towards understanding and asking yourself genuinely, this thing that I've observed about this person, what does it mean for me? Then make your decisions based on that. That is for singles. For married, my ultimate recommendation, our recommendation is that you sit with a professional where we can now look at the complexities that have not, come up in that marriage. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. It says, is it okay to be nervous, doubtful when taking the final decision on who to marry?
Come again, please.
Is it okay to be nervous, so doubtful about taking the final decision on who to marry? Can you hear me?
It's breaking. No, is it okay to be what?
Is it okay to be nervous or doubtful about taking, about nervous or doubtful when taking the final decision on who to marry?
Or who to marry? Well, I guess it is okay, but when you have like a lot of doubts, that is where you pause. Do you see? That might be an indication that you need to actually rethink things properly. But the little nerves where I'm just like, oh my God, like where are we, what's it going to be? I think that's okay. Do you see? But again, the nerves is not the problem, is that people are not digging deep enough. All of them are they're investigative. Ideally, they should be investigative in nature, because sometimes you find that your doubt is expressed because of, and like sort of like a fear that you have, your concerns, the nerves that you are experiencing is because there's some kind of fear, like in the bottom of your heart, where you are like, this thing, I don't quite like it, I'm not quite sure. So dig deep and find out if there's any fear driving that. But for the most part, if you're able to investigate and you find that, for what it's worth, you genuinely want to be with this person, and you have a lot of good that outweighs the bad. I think that a little nerves is okay, and just a little bit of, oh my God, what does the future have hold for us? But ultimately, don't take it as the final way. Just on the surface, that's what it is. Investigate to find out what is driving it.
They're just signals and invitations for you to draw closer and see what probably are the gray areas. So, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's just your mind trying to look out for you, or probably the Spirit of God trying to, nudge you to safety. So, I mean, you should investigate, as my wife said, just press forward and say, okay, why am I doing this way? What can I do to get better? What are there questions that have not been answered? Are there things that I'm avoiding? Are there things, something must have, prompted that feeling. So you can just, make sure that, you pay attention to it, and you don't just find a way to, push them aside. Just find, pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to your emotions, basically. And if it's really, really worrisome for you, because sometimes it might get you depressed, it might push you to a place of depression. So, I mean, that's why you need to, really, really investigate, talk to people, talk to your partner, or if it happens to be that you are already talking to a coach or a professional, go ahead and do that. Just don't leave things, unattended to.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The next question, please. How does one avoid pitfalls in long-distance relationships? And how should one handle long-distance relations with good intentions of making it to marriage? Let me take it again. How does one avoid pitfalls in long-distance relationships? And how should one handle long-distance relationships with good intentions of making it to marriage? So basically, guidelines if you're in a long-distance relationship.
Okay, so first thing first is the acknowledgement of the fact that you're in a long-distance relationship. So you have a peculiar relationship. So you can't compare it to your friends' relationship. So who can probably go on normal dates and, do other normal stuff like that. You are in a peculiar relationship. You have to understand that you're in a peculiar relationship. So the acknowledgement of it will go a long way to be helpful. Sometimes, your problem, the challenge again, why I said the acknowledgement is very important, because you might be faced time difference challenge. So you are going to work. So that person will not be, probably like early morning, good morning text messages and all those things. And the time difference is when he's going to bed, is when you are going to work. I mean, there's a difference. So, I mean, you must be able to find the balance. You have to just understand that this is the kind of relationship that I'm in. Then you have to make sure that your pleasures, your satisfaction, what you like, what the person will be doing, you convert them to other things. Okay, all right. Even if it doesn't say it in the morning, as I get it in the day, any time of the day, that will still be fine by me, because this is the kind of relationship I'm in. So the struggle is because people who have been very used to conventional relationship type find themselves in a long-term relationship, and they have the same expectation. So you're expecting the same experience that you had, the same way it was, the modus operandi of the conventional relationship, you're expecting it in the long-term relationship. So there will be a lot of dissatisfaction and complaints, will show up in that regard. So you have to first of all acknowledge that. Then long-term relationship communication is the soul, is the soul of long-distance relationship. I mean, communication because you don't have the privilege that others have. So I mean, you are always leaving things, checking the person all the time, dropping messages. Just keep communicating. And part of your communication must be structured. That's another thing. So if you are in a long distance relationship, have things defined, everything defined, have your plans, then you are talking progressively. You are making progress even in your conversations. You are making progress. But if you're in a long distance relationship and you're just in talking stage, people are just talking here and there, you're not making any decisions, you don't have any plans towards anything, there is nothing you are feeding me back on, you're not working towards anything, we are not making any plans, that will be very, very frustrating. It will be very, very frustrating because out of sight is out of mind. But you have to make sure that you carry me in your mind, you carry the person in your mind, you represent the person in every way that you can. You make sure that you are always finding alternative to all their love languages. You're finding a way to, even if you're away and this person likes gift, you find a way to always make sure that someone said you get the gift across to them. Just make sure that you are well represented in that long distance relationship, and it must be concrete. If you don't have any concrete plan, you don't have anything constructive, and you're not making progress, then you have definitely, because it's not just the fact that it's a long distance relationship, that's why a relationship may crash. People who see themselves day to day, the relationship may still crash, even the fact that they see themselves day to day. So it is not just the distance that will be the major issue in the relationship. It is the content of that relationship. It is the content that will determine whether that long distance relationship will work or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Say that we should, and the world is now pretty flat, if we can say so. Take advantage of technology. There are ways. I mean, I find that long distance couple have different ways now. So sometimes Google, how can we watch a movie together at the same time while at different places? You'll be surprised that all sorts of apps will come up that you will feel as if you're watching, not just that you're watching on YouTube or one screen, like maybe you're looking at video. You'll be surprised that there'll be an app that connects you to watch in real time, like you're watching the same, like at the same time. You see? So sometimes put on Google, and I feel like a major point that he said is the people. Make sure that you are finding alternatives to the way that you love. Do you see? One thing that I will add is, please, when you're in a long distance relationship and there's nothing to talk about, let there be nothing to talk about. Don't force it. I find that people in long distance relationship assume that people in close distance relationship are always talking, and we're not always talking. Sometimes we're in the same room and we're just on, everybody is just doing their thing. Do you see? We don't think that we don't love each other. So if you're in a long distance relationship, you guys have gone to work and you have spoken, and on a particular day, there's nothing to say really. It's okay. If you want to stay on the phone, let each other be breathing. That's okay. But don't say, don't you have anything to say to me? Say something to them. If they had something to say to you, they would have said it. So these are some of the awkwardness that people don't get the memo on and normalize, that can begin to bring in some kind of discontentment with the situation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we're just about 6 minutes. Okay, so.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so this question, does denomination matter in Christian? Does denomination matter in Christian?
Denomination, yeah, it does. It does. I mean, denominations, it does. It matters. It matters relationship. It matters relationship, because when you look at denominations, what created the denomination? It's definitely probably doctrines that we're talking about. All right. So I mean, just like somebody saying, does age matter in a relationship? Yeah, it does. Okay. So it's important for you to understand that this thing does matter. However, we have something to. Okay, so I mean, so it matters. It's better for you to understand that there's a difference than for you to ignore the differences. It's better for you to understand and see the differences. That okay. For instance, let's look at some typical example of denominations. Someone from a white garment church and someone from a Pentecostal background. It's a two major contrast. Okay, so would you go ahead and say, oh, it doesn't matter? In fact, sometimes it's not even the partner's denomination. It could even be the in-laws. Probably my parents, my mom has this, but my mom is white garment. Do you understand now? So I mean, a idea of things, she can bring it in and stuff like that. And if my wife doesn't have this understanding, we would always be having issues because of some of the the myths around things about them. So denomination, really does matter. And you're talking about, you have to talk about it. It's part of your values. It's part of what makes, because you chose to identify with a particular group. There's a reason why you decided to identify with that group. So you can't ignore it in a relationship. This person may be a fantastic person, but you may have this difference, all right? And it's okay to have that difference. And if you can't move past that, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. It's better to acknowledge that than to pretend as if it doesn't matter. Oh, don't worry, it's fine. When you get into marriage, it will not be fine. When you get into marriage,
you would have like things that put you together, like children, for instance. When you have children, it may be okay for you guys. I mean, I guess, at the end of the day, talk about it. Because if you say it's okay for you guys, by the time you have children, one person may have an inclination to want their children to follow them because, well, there's just this superiority around what you think is best. And that is also going to be communicated in energy, which may not just sit well with the other partner, who is also thinking, okay, so what of my own? Do you see? And so those are some of the challenges, even though a couple may say, oh, no big deal, you can go where you want to go. But also when you start getting married and start having these arguments about like doctrine, somebody does not believe in tithing, another person believes, those things take a lot of maturity to discuss and to agree. Most people don't make it because the more you see that this person does not reason like you, think like you begin to get resentful and you begin to dislike really talking to them. And those are like foxes that can really spoil the vine. So make sure that you don't give room for Satan. Don't give room. Find out the alignment point and go for that. But if you talk about it clearly and you talk to the point of children and you feel like it's okay for you, I guess go ahead. But the best recommendation would be to make sure that you're on the same page.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess this should be our last question, and that is, what would you advise a single parent working and longing to find love and settle? It seems really difficult because the brothers seem to be avoiding us. That's one of our people that sent in that question. A single parent, how would the woman, assume, working, how would she find love and settle? It seems very difficult because it looks like a lot of men are avoiding single parents. So for single parents, what would be your advice? Or single mothers in this case?
It's very understandable why brothers would avoid, because we just discussed money boundaries and other things, finances like that. And that's just talking about single people, just between single people and not someone with responsibility. So imagine what it would look like you go into a relationship with someone who has a relationship. So, I mean, it's quite understandable. So,
yeah, they're already biased.
They are against single parents. I mean, most especially probably single mothers that hold, responsibilities. And again, you're going to be having someone in your life. I mean, because the children probably have a father, probably maybe one or two. We never can tell. So I mean, so that person is going to be in your life, and I mean, it takes a lot of maturity. And again, we as family members, we are not even that very supportive, because if your brother or someone is going for, a single mother or something, you'll be the one advising them that, what happened to all the other single girls? Are there no other single girls in Lagos or in Abuja or whatever again? So why are you going for this person? And there's a lot. Someone is thinking, oh, she's good enough, probably the marriage will be bad. So how come you're going? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, so that's, and single mothers are aware of this, and that can really, really affect the way they see themselves. And you see, one thing that can never be lost when it comes to relationship is confidence. And once your confidence wears out, it affects the the frequency of your attraction, how much you can attract people. Just walking alone, you can tell that this person, even if before you find out their story, you can tell that something is already going on in this person's life, because the way this whole situation and this everything around themselves and stuff like that. So it might be predictable that they're going through a lot. So one of the things that can help is understanding that, okay, this is who I am. However, I am going to go on and pursue my life. There's a lot more to it. You can live a very beautiful life, a very attractive life that even a single brother will want to be part of the life, want to be in. The funny thing is that we even have some married women who are married in their husband's home with rings on their fingers, and we still have some men chasing after them. So I'm just bringing in that case study to let you know that it is still possible that a woman who is divorced or separated can still be in a very loving and healthy relationship, depending on how she's able to manage and carry herself. And it depends on what she believes. Belief goes a long way. What you believe goes a long way. It transforms into how you do your things, how you manage your situations, how you respond to situations. Because if someone is coming into your life, I don't want to be in the politics of what happened in your previous marriage. So I mean, I must see a lot of peace around you before I can know that, okay, this is a place where I can settle. So that responsibility is there, that, okay, so it is first of all personal. It's not even just about somebody coming into your life. It's about you putting your life together, organizing your life at first. That's the primary assignment. Organize your life at first before you can even start thinking about someone coming in, joining into that life. How prepared are your children to welcome somebody else? Do you understand that? To partner with you? There's a lot of responsibility and work that has to be done on the part of the single parent. And also, this another thing, as a man or as a woman, whoever you are, please be open. Trust me, be open. Love, marriage, life can be beautiful in any situation. You know, you have to be open-minded. There's a lot of open-mindedness that we need to practice. Even as a single person looking for another single person, you have to be open-minded. You have to be ready. You know, but most times even God himself, we box God. We are not often sincere with ourselves. Okay, you are praying to God for a partner, but you're already at the back of your mind, you have a tribe in mind as preference. You're not being sincere. Okay, because at the end of the day, it is what is in your subconscious that is going to be leading you. At the end of the day, you are going to be tilting towards your subconscious, because even if God tells you go left, you say, God, let me try right, because this left is not what I want. You say, God, you argue with God over that. So a lot of open-mindedness we need to practice, and that goes both ways.
I'll just add that again, be confident in yourself and don't box yourself in time. You know, as a single parent, there's that need where you quickly want to settle down so you can discard the label single parent. And so this is where a lot of people are like looking desperate. You have to come to a place where you understand that label doesn't define you. There's nothing different to you than any other woman. Do you see? And if anything, you are more mature, you have actually experienced love, you have served, you are giving, all of that stuff. So don't let it define you to the point where it boxes you in a time-conscious box, where you are now thinking, oh, if I don't hurry up, then I may be like this forever. The only way to beat time is to step out of it. Do you understand? And so I would say just have faith, be confident, and have faith in yourself. Believe that the man that will love you is out there and can find you. The woman that will take you as you are is out there, even though you had a child before or children, is out there and will find you. But don't be desperate. Don't be desperate that you are, and don't let your desperation or your desires come from a lack of confidence, a need to cancel that label and replace it quickly so that society finds you more acceptable. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not, you don't have any disease. Single parenthood is not a disease. So please see yourself as God sees you. And step out of time, just live your life, just do your thing. And, just that way, the way it is for every one of us is the way it would happen for you. There are people dating people who are older than them, not even like in the name of sugar mommy, just genuinely falling in love with people who are older, genuinely falling in love with single parents, genuinely falling in love with widows, like older widows. And they're getting married again. They're having many other chances at love. Why not you? And that's the question. Say, why not me? Do you see? So it will happen for you. Just believe and don't box yourself in that. It has to happen at a particular time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mrs. O.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Aiden. Thank you so much, Mr. Soetan. So, okay, because of the technical glitch, we thought that we should extend this meeting to 8:45. I hope that's okay with you. So we'll be asking our last question probably around 8:40 so that we don't keep people on it. So should we ask for 1.5 hours? Okay, so I'll just go straight to the point. At what point in the relationship will you know that your partner is the God-ordained partner?
At the beginning.
How did the relationship start? That's how did the relationship start?
You better know at the beginning.
So, I mean, it's just almost like you ordered already, then you're presenting to God, say, God, accept this. I mean, just take.
Accept the glory.
Like, no, that's, so, I mean, those are some of the things that you need to have settled about your life. If God is the author and the finisher of your life, is the one who dictates that, you should let anybody who is becoming your friend know. People should know that it's God who dictates things here, who runs things here, not me. Okay, so, I mean, it's not something that God will be informed later. No, it is something that must be authored by God. Yeah. That it must be the initiator. It's the one who gave the go ahead and say, yes, go ahead with this. I'm behind you with this. I understand this. Go ahead with this. You must be spirit led.
The Bible recommends that you should not stir love until it pleases.
Yeah.
A wise man once said, do not stir love until it pleases. So make sure that one of the reasons why that love pleases is because it is God's will.
Okay, so thank you very much. This question is 2 in 1. One is, you talked about long distance relationships. Now, but this one is 2 in 1. One is, how do you avoid sexual temptation when the two parties are staying alone? I don't mean cohabiting. I'm saying the lady stays in her house, the man stays in her house. That is one. Then secondly, how do you handle sexual urges when you are alone? That is, okay, he's not here, but I'm feeling horny. How do you handle that? Those are the 2 questions in one.
Wait, as a single person,
yes.
As a single person who is in a relationship or just being a single person.
Either way, I guess.
The second one is either one. The first one,
okay,
they're in a relationship, each of them. You talked about having people around you when you have visits and all of that as a form of avoiding sexual temptation. So this lady lives in her own apartment. The guy lives in his own apartment. How do you do that?
Meet outside.
Okay. I'm trying to get, whatever the situation may be, you see, let's look at things holistically. So it's not just about the moment. It's about, I like to think of sex as sexual life, your sex life. It's a life on its own. We take it like, it's just something that we do. No, your sexual life, it's an entire life. It's part of you. So because we don't get enough education about our sexual life, we mismanage it because we don't get enough education about it. Because initially, we're raised to live in denial. For you to deny how you feel, or for you to feel awkward about so many things about you that genuinely about you that makes up your anatomy, your biology as a person. So that's how we end up having all these struggles because we lack the basic knowledge and we fail to acknowledge certain things. So you know yourself. So it's a question of self-awareness. It's about you knowing yourself, you understanding yourself. First of all, you need to know that, yes, you are a human being. All right, you are a sexual being. So it is normal. You are functional. It shows you are healthy. If you feel horny, you feel a particular way, you have all this. It shows you are healthy. It shows you are fine. You are a normal human being. So it's okay for you to have that. Now, what do you do with this energy? How do you control this energy? Because it is very essential that you are able to manage it. You are able to control it. You're able to exercise certain discipline to level. So it's not even just about relationship or your marriage, but basically your own personal life. How can you manage this? And some of the things you can do about this energy is to transfer the energy. Find things that you can do that can absorb your attention, you can divert your energy into. And those are some of the things. So it's about your thought, what you do when you feel a certain way, the thoughts you promote, the ones you don't promote, the ones you don't, you find healthy distractions. Oh, I know that I'm going to be subjected to this, but however, I'm going to open myself up to this. So you have other things. That my wife was saying something jokingly now. She just said, oh, you work out. And that's fine. People can take a walk. You can take it. It's more about knowing yourself. I mean, it's more about knowing yourself. It's about you just using that moment as an opportunity to divert the energy, because the energy is there. So you just need to divert it to something else. It can be a moment where you just probably listen to a particular kind of music that can de-emphasize that moment for you, that can de-escalate the moment for you. Do you understand that? You can just listen to that music that can turn your mind to maybe something more creative. And the truth of the matter is that I realized that when you do that, okay, let me say personally, when I do that, I kind of switch on my creative energy. I mean, it's just like that. Once I divert my mind and I start writing, whatever it is I'm writing there, I mean, after I finish writing, I feel a kind of satisfaction from what I've written. Do you understand? I feel a form of satisfaction from what I've written. So you can divert the energy. There are so many other activities, but most importantly, you need to know yourself and be true with yourself and be true with your God. There's nothing you can do without you being true with yourself and be true with your God. Don't lie to yourself. And that's why you need God is because it's God that can tell you who you are to you. There are some things about yourself that you don't even know. Some things about you that are not manifesting yet.
Also, in regards to being true to your God, I feel like sometimes we ask these questions because we are trying to find a way out. Like, if it's a non-negotiable, even you will find a way to make it happen. Do you see? So I feel like it's important for us to understand the why and ask yourself if you truly submit to it. Some of us don't even believe in this no sex before marriage thing. So it's like somebody is forcing us to do what we don't want to. Do you get? So find your why. And that why is mostly for your sake. God is not the God that sits in heaven and is like, obey me. I'm desperate for somebody to obey me. If you have sex, I'll strike you down. No, it's for your own good. Do you understand? Because once you start having sex, it's just binding in a way that, it's deep. Do you see? It's deep and it can complicate things quickly for you. Do you see? It may be like, okay, so and the honest truth is, if we look at it, the way that we are, most of us, life doesn't prepare us enough for marriage. So we are not even as developed for marriage as we think we are. Our communication skills are not that top notch. Our persuasion skills are not that top notch. Our just skills, leveling up in terms of skills. We don't really do that. So sex is a good distraction for a lot of people. You just come together, gas. You have had sex. By the time you are ready to go, time is up. You have not really sat down to talk, to engage, to ask questions. Where are you going? Where do you see yourself? What are your values? What are your dreams? Do you see? So it's important that you understand the why, that it's not just because you need to obey God. It's because it's for your protection and for your discovery and to prepare you for marriage. So that when you embrace the bigger vision, the stronger why, then it will be a motivation for you to want to see it through. And all the tips that people can give you, workouts, divert your attention, go to an open place, they will be easier for you to follow because you understand why you need to. You're not exactly trying to make excuse. If you live alone, for instance, that you already know you can't always visit each other in the house and you are all by yourself, unless you don't want to tell yourself the truth about this sexual tension. You see, so if you're at home, if you're at home alone, go to the park, go to movies. Do you see? If you're staying in the house together, make sure you are doing something that not something that can bring you, in that place. So somebody saying being honey is from the devil. I think I just read that. Well, you can't honestly believe that because when you are still married, you'll be honey. It's not Satan, my sister. It's just biology. Just my brother. It's just biology. It's just how your body works. God made you a sexual being, and ideally, you shouldn't have to worry about inordinate affections if we are not acquainted with the knowledge of good and people who have never had sex before already know that there is sex, already know the position. We have found out through porn. We have found out through what would I call it now? Just illegal porn or just subtle pornography in movies. How sweet it is. You have seen people enjoying it. So the vision is alive in your brain, even though you've never had sex before. Ideally, God did not make it to be like that. You were supposed to be like clueless about it until you stumble upon it as a discovery. Do you see? But now the world is no longer about that. You know things. We have a collective evolution that allows me to take on the experience of another person, even though I've not quite experienced it for myself. Do you see? And so this is why you must sort of become aware of how the world works, how the system works, if you're going to beat it. Do you see? So please, let us stop. It's not about asking tips. It's about knowing the why and embracing God's vision for you. Because it is not your vision for yourself to be protected against sex that will divert you, that will just diminish the amount of conversations that you can have, that can open you up to your future partner, that can even open you up to maybe not, this is not the time we should be dating. Do you see? Sex is a big distraction. And so one of the ways that God protects you is to say, you know what? Don't fornicate. Don't give in to these affections, to this tension, because he has a way of just like bonding you. Even if some of you need to break up from relationships, you will find it difficult to break up because your souls are so intricately connected and bonded in a way that is difficult to pull apart. Do you see? So it's not just to obey God, it's for our own protection. And even in obeying God, it's beautiful to want to be God's delight. The Bible encourages us to make our bodies living sacrifice. It begs us indeed. It says, I beg you, by the mercy of God, make yourself, a living sacrifices unto God. So it is good. We must also delight in it because we serve a holy God. It is a purity journey. It's not something that we are looking for reward for. Virginity is not something that, God owes you for. God doesn't owe you. It is God who formed it to protect you. Your own service, your own acceptance of it and obedience is your own reasonable service. Do you understand? So it's kind of like a love relationship. Do you see? But none of us are compelled to say by force, by fire. If you have sex, God is not going to hate you for it. He's not going to punish you. He's going to still love you and constantly be looking for how he can save you, bring you to a place where you de-emphasize the need to be physically intimate with somebody as a way to prove love. Do you understand? Because in marriage, what if you have a baby and you need to wait 6 weeks? Are you going to say your wife doesn't love you or your husband doesn't love you because you're no longer intimate with them physically? This is so. Let's find ways to develop this romance in other ways. Connect intellectually, connect emotionally, connect in other things. Do you see? So that it will be easy for you to look to the wild and delight in the journey as opposed to looking for ways out of it.
Wow. Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of the question and answer session. We still have questions, both live and the one that we have recorded. And I really wish everyone could at least hear some of these questions. They're actually very important. To compensate, I think the various leaders of different groups would probably reach out to people to see the way they could answer some of all these questions. Thank you so much for honoring our invite, Mr. and Mrs. Soetan. It's
Thank
beautiful
you.
to be able to place an actual face to the name, and it's beautiful hearing from you. So now I'll be inviting Mr. Idowu to come over and talk to us about our hangout, our singles hangout, and probably if there's any other way we could compensate people to be able to answer their questions, then you would come up with that. So, Mr. Idowu,
Thank you very
Wait,
much, Laide, Mrs. O. Thank you very much, Mr. Oyedele. Thank you very, very much, Mr. and Mrs. Olashoeton. The passion you used to answer the questions, the realness in the questions. Thank you so very much. For us, it's not just about, it wasn't theory. You brought in your personalities. You just gave it to us. God bless you so much, and we are very grateful. Thank you for the value you have added to us, and thank you for the wisdom you have shared with us from your own experiences and from the knowledge you have accumulated from learning. God bless you so much. Thank you. Okay,
amen.
everybody on the call, like we said earlier, this is the Working Singles Community Group, one of the community groups from the TCN community groups. Like we said, we have several other community groups, and this group will be having an hangout next week at Omu Resort. It's a paid event. The link will be shared in the chat section shortly in case you want to be part of that hangout. Now, in the Covenant Nation Community Group, our slogan is that don't do life alone. Don't isolate yourself. There's a community around you that you can benefit from. So connect with them. And that's part of what we are going to be doing next week, Saturday at Omu Resort. We're going to be connecting with each other. We're going to be learning. We're going to be playing. We're going to be just learning from each other, a lot of peer mentorship. I don't know, we might be able to get chance to answer some of the questions that were not answered here, but let's see how it goes. But make it a date with us next week. The link will be shared in the chat section. Register, make payment. The deadline for the payment is tomorrow. But maybe for the sake of those that are just getting the information, and because of some of the other requests we've been getting, we might consider an extension. But if you can make payments, go ahead and make payments immediately. God bless you so much. So we have come to the end of this session. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for everyone that put it together. Thank you for taking out time to come and learn about something that will benefit your life. And I pray for you that the things you have heard here today will not stand against you, but that the things that you have heard here today, that God will grant you the grace to practically apply them in your own life, and you will reap the results. God bless you so much. You will have the marriage of your dreams. You will not make mistake when it comes to marriage, and your marriage will be a shining testimony of what a household that is filled with the presence of God can be. God bless you so much. So I will take the closing prayer. Father, we thank you for all that we have heard. We thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the couple. We ask that you bless them so much. From the abundance they've given to us, I ask that you will replenish them. I pray for everyone that has heard the things that has been spoken, the answers to the question, that you will also speak to their minds deeply about the ones that are not clear yet and make it clear to them in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Lord, I declare that
Amen.
everyone here will indeed have marriages that will be examples, shining light upon the face of the earth in Jesus' name. God bless you
Amen.
all. God
Thank you
bless
so much,
you.
sir.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
As
Amen.
many of you that will
Thank
register, see you at
you.
the hangout. God bless
Thank
you.
you very, very much.
Thank you
Bless you
so
too.
Thank
much.
you. Thank you
Thank
all so much for
you.
coming. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And we
Thank
apologize for the glitch.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good night. And yes, you
Bye.
can
Thank you.
we'll work on getting across the recordings.
Bye, Mrs. O.
Bye-bye.